Hi guys, I just thought I'd come on and do a little chat about all of the backstory for Creativity Island for Mums. And I want to talk today a little bit about creativity and perfectionism, which can be one of the huge barriers that gets in our way of creating either for ourselves or with our children. So yeah, just wanted to tell a little bit of that story really. So if you've watched my other videos, you'll know that I'm currently pregnant, 37 weeks now, and I also have a little boy who's 6. And we started off living in Newcastle, next to lots of incredible cultural venues where there was lots of artist design programs for children and mums to have a nice time together. And then when we moved to rural Northumberland, our option was a local toddler group, which was really sweet too, but obviously very different to being able to go to those bigger organisations. So I started a programme at our local theatre called Creative Cocoon, which was inspired by children's picture books, which was really just bringing the joy of the picture books to life for people who wanted to come along and spend some time in a sensory environment. So we would kind of take the themes and the colours from the picture books and transform a space. We would use theatrical lighting, disco ball, all sorts of lovely things like that. The mums could get a cuppa. Everybody loved it. And then, yeah, when I sort of got pregnant with this little one and we were in a pandemic, I was thinking about all that work and what people would be doing now, and how people would be connecting to community for themselves, for their little ones, you know, those lovely little moments where two little ones kind of crawl up to each other and decide to hold hands, or they kind of start interacting with play, kind of where all that was happening. And obviously the truth of it is that there's not very much of it happened at all this year. So we're in December now, well, tomorrow, December, and I guess since sort of March, since lockdown, all the babies that have been born before that, and the children that would have gone to those groups haven't been able to have that opportunity. So I know there's been some nice initiatives in children's centres and some local mums have set up groups. But really, I just started thinking about what might be possible in terms of an online community and something that's spilled out into our local communities. So Creativity Island really was about us as mothers finding space, so finding our own island to create from. So if we're at home, there's no doubt there's more work to do. I'm just looking around me now, you can't see this, but there's like piles of wrapping paper, gift tags, scissors on this side of the table, coffee on this side of the table, the pram that we've built in front of me, you know, Christmas stuff piled up. There's a lot of stuff in our homes, and what is really lovely to be able to do is clear all of that stuff when we can and just make space for ourselves. So it could be just a little corner of your living room where you've got easy access to a notebook and pen and you want to journal things down. It could be at your kitchen table, you want to try some new things with your baby or with your little one. We're going to try and do some salt dough ornaments this week. So I don't actually think that I've done my own since I was little. Probably done them at kind of baby groups and things, but I've never made up the dough, so I got some table salt today when I was out shopping. Yeah, so just trying to create that space. So part of that is about easy access to materials. So like I said, if you've got your notebook and pen, that's fab. And if you've got a drawer or a box that you could keep bits and bobs in, so I definitely have a box that's just for you of things that you love to make and do, and then a box that's for your little one. So with Play-Doh, obviously in the early days, it's really fun to experience Play-Doh again together, and you can get quite into that. And then obviously you can make air-dried clay, buy that all in and make ornaments. But then the more complicated things, so I really love making books. So I learned this a couple of years ago, and this, I think, oh yeah, this was like a moon diary that I started this year. So yeah, so I've got like a couple of tins of places that I can just go to. This is a bullet journal that I started, all sorts of different things in there. Yeah, where I can just pull all that stuff out and put it onto the table, so there's no like hunting for stuff. This is one that I've made for my daughter. I need to fix it actually, it's come off there. But I started thinking I would make like a pregnancy journal. Hasn't really happened, there's a few bits in there, but I'll put a bit more. I've got loads of scan pictures because I've been for loads and loads of extra scans, so that'd be nice to keep that in there. But yeah, all of that's really easy for me to access. Obviously, whilst feeding a newborn and cuddling a newborn, I'm not going to be doing any bookmaking, but it'll be there for when I get a bit more time when the baby's older. But things that I will have a think about is our environment here. And the challenge that I'm running at the moment, Creativity Island Through Our Festive Window, was really designed so that mums with newborn babies up to sort of 5 years old could do something and create something in the home that was festive, that challenged them a little bit creatively, and just gave them that opportunity to create a beautiful window in the home. So we always see them, don't we, when we're kind of out and about shopping. Looking forward to the local shops opening again this week, not particularly to go inside or anything, but just to kind of have a look at their festive windows. It's always been something that I've really loved looking at. My little one comes along and we do that little kind of trip through the town with the Christmas lights. I did a little bit of window design when I was at university. I worked for like a snowboardy skate shop called Free Spirit, and they used to get me to sort of have a go at the windows and stuff like that, but I've had no formal training on it. It was just kind of quite a good fun thing to do. So yeah, so the one that I've made for the challenge is the first time I've tried anything like this, and I started thinking a lot about textures and themes, and then also about layering things up. So I've definitely got the basis in there now, and as it gets finished, I'll share more about that and that process. But yeah, I'm not a professional window dresser, I'm not a professional artist, but I just wanted to have a go, and that's kind of what the community is all about, just having a go and experiencing your creativity and experiencing it by yourself and then with your little one as well, and just seeing what sparks. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about, let's have a little drink of coffee. Decaf, is about perfectionism and how it can trip us up. So I work in the creative industries, I work in the arts, I'm a project manager, fundraiser, creative producer, so I'm around creative people a lot. And you know, earlier on in my career, I would have thought that I wasn't artistic, and that those sort of beliefs come from being younger and perhaps like not being the most artistic one at school. So the language that's used to describe our creativity, there's this kind of really interesting dance between what's creative and what's artistic. So an artist, and you know, some of you might agree that one thing's artistic and brilliant, and other people might say, oh no, I really don't rate it. So obviously it's all so subjective. But yeah, I think it's about really what beliefs you start to hold about yourself and what you can do. So as a creative producer, I have to do a lot of work with artists to support them and to support their vision. And a lot of that is a kind of collaborative approach. So I'll kind of throw the ideas in, let them kind of jumble them up, and we'll kind of float back between each other. And a lot of the time when I'm fundraising, the ideas come from me, but I bring in a team to help deliver them. So yeah, so I've always felt quite comfortable in that space. And then when I became pregnant, I wanted to do something that was about my creativity and try to kind of get past some of those blocks around having to have everything led by artists in that same way that I've always worked. So putting myself in the position of being the artist for the funder anyway. So that's what I did. So I just kind of thought about the public engagement side, the community side of what I wanted to do, because that's my true passion, really bringing people together. And I feel like through cheerleading and nurturing each other, we create better. I think, you know, that's the top and bottom of it. All those influences that kind of come through us as we're growing up, and then obviously as we go on to study, we can shut things down, sort of say, well, I haven't got time for creativity, or perhaps when we have children, that kind of opens up again. So I'm just curious about that whole space. So I'm going to spend the next year having a think about that, running a couple of projects, which you'll all be invited to join if you've got children under 5, and just really seeing where it all goes, and seeing what's possible as a creative community. And that's the emphasis for me, really, that we support each other and understand what's possible with the different ages of children. Some people will have multiple children under 5. So yeah, so there's going to be a few reality checks, I think, and I'll just try and keep things really, really accessible for you. So yeah, so I guess the takeaways really are: don't let perfectionism trip you up. Don't, think that it's got to look perfect, because to your little one, it will anyway. They'll just adore whatever you create with them. And I think moving away from the kind of Instagram type content, which is really heavily edited in Photoshop and kind of planned, and people spend hours making those photographs and images and videos. This is about our environment, and it's just for us. So there's no emphasis on sharing unless you want to. There's just an emphasis on having a go and feeling inspired. So yeah, don't let any of that sort of stuff trip you up. But if you find that you want to share it and it feels really good to share, then yeah, go ahead. And I guess the last thing to say is, if you haven't kind of started taking part in the current group that I've got running at the moment, but you're there, feel free to just soak it all in, and maybe you'll take part next time. I'm going to leave it open until Christmas 2020, and then we'll revisit it probably in 2021. So there's loads and loads of time. So yeah, it's completely up to you, but you're so welcome. Thanks for being there. Thanks for listening to my talk this morning. And I hope it's useful to you as you think about your creativity going forward for Creativity Island for Mums with your little one.